Hi guys, how are you today? How is staying at home going for you? Hope everything is going well and you are enjoying this beautiful day. What we have going on in math today is more work with volumes. Today it's something called composite volumes, and so we are going to find total volumes of two figures, sometimes more. Today we're going to just focus on two. So what I have at the top of your notes, so make sure you have either this copy or notebook paper, all the formulas that is needed. Okay, so if you don't print this out, you can recopy all these formulas or have it open the PDF that I post on this Google slide with all of the formulas there. So we'll go ahead and get started with the first one. So the first one, what we're going to do is identify each of the figures that make up this composite figure. And I have a cone and a cylinder. So I'm going to go ahead and label the top as my cone, the bottom as my cylinder. For each figure, I'm also going to identify important pieces that we'll need for the formula. So for the cone, I know I'm going to need to know the radius. And the radius for the cone is listed as 3. I'm also going to need to know the height. So the height of the cone is not listed, but I have the height of the total cone and cylinder put together. And if you can see it, it says 15 yards. Again, that's not the entire height of the cone. The height of the cylinder is 8 yards. So all I have to do is find the difference. So 15 minus 8 is 7. So the height of the cone is 7. Now let's come down to the cylinder. The radius of the cylinder is 2 yards. And the height of the cylinder is 8 yards. Okay, so it is again listed right here, right next to the figure. Our next step is to find the volume of each of these two figures, and then it says find the volume of each. That's going to be the total. We'll do the total last. So I'm going to start with the volume of the cone. So I'm just going to label this as V cone to tell me it's the volume of the cone. And the formula for that is 1/3 pi r squared h. My next step is making the substitution. So 1/3 times pi. The radius we identified is 3, so 3 squared, and then the height is 7. Again, order of operations tell us to square first, so it's going to be 1/3 pi times 3 squared, which is 9, times 7. My next step is I'm going to go ahead and multiply all of my numbers and coefficients together. So it's going to be 1/3 times 9 times 7. That gives me 21. And I'm going to write it as 21 pi. And for this first example, I'm going to leave it in the exact answer. So the exact answer, remember, is in terms of pi. So 21 pi yards cubed. So I'm going to just draw a small little line. So now I'm going to find the volume of that cylinder. I'm going to shorten it. I'm going to just call it the cylinder. And the formula for this is pi r squared h. Move this paper. And so again, making the substitutions from the information that I found up above. We'll drop down the pi first, then the radius is 2, so we have 2 squared, and then the height is 8. My next step is order of operations, so I'm going to take that 2 and square it, so I have pi times 4 times 8. Well, 4 times 8 is 32, so we have 32 pi yards cubed. Okay, and so that's the volume of the cylinder. Now my last step here is going to be to find the total volume for this figure, and that is going to take the volume of the cone, which was 21 pi, and add it to the volume of the cylinder, which is 32 pi. Now if you remember, this is going to get added together a lot like how we would add together our variables with you combine like terms. So we can go ahead and add this together and keep it in terms of pi. 21 plus 32 is 53 pi yards cubed. So adding that label on there. And that is the total volume for this figure. Okay? All right, so if you have any questions or are struggling, please feel free to email me. The next thing I'm going to do is our other shape. And this shape, we're going to have a rounded answers for our final answer. I'm going to start by identifying what we have going on. So I see a cylinder, so I'm going to write it over here actually, because I think if I write it on the other side, I'll run out of space. I'll fall off the page. The radius of that cylinder is 2, so from the center to the outer edge. And then the height from bottom to top is 4. The next figure I have is a rectangular prism, and so I'm going to go ahead and abbreviate that as well. And that is length times width times height, and that is all there for me. So let's go ahead and just start calculating volume of these shapes. So I'm going to start with volume of the cylinder, and again I'm going to abbreviate, so my cylind, and the formula is pi r squared h. Next I'm going to make my substitutions, so drop down that pi first. The radius we wrote down is 2, so it's 2 squared times the height, which is 4. 2 squared is 4 times 4, then I get 16 pi. Now if you remember, I said we're going to round these answers. So in my calculator, I have 16 pi, and I'm going to round to the hundredths place. So 26 is the hundredths place, or the 6, I should say, is the hundredths place. That 5 is going to tell me that I'm going to take back 6 and round up 1. So the volume of the cylinder is about 50 and 27 meters cubed. Next, I'm going to find the volume of my rectangular prism. And the formula for this is length times width times height, again, which is at the top. Make sure you are using these formulas to help you with your Google Form assignment. Next, I'm going to make my substitutions. Oop, I went a little too high. Here we go. So the length on this one is going across here 10. The width is 5. And the height is 3. So 10 times 5 times 3. Some of you can do this in your head, which is awesome. But real quick in the calculator, we get 150. And nothing to round on this one. I'm going to just give it that label of meters cubed. And then the last thing to do is the volume of the total. This is probably what I should have done last time. Volume of my total. I'm going to add together 50 and 27 hundredths plus 150, and I'm going to put 2 zeros after that with the decimal point just to maintain place value. Okay, so I can even drop my decimal point down now if I wanted. So when I add this together, 27 hundredths, so 227 hundredths meters cubed. And this is my total. All right, so that again is called composite figures. We are finding volume of these composite figures. So you find the volume of every figure that you see in there, and then your last step is to add it all together. Please pay attention to your Google form on whether I ask for rounded answers like we did on this last problem, or exact answers, which is also known as answers in terms of pi, like this first one. Okay, hey, that's it from me. Stay healthy, stay well, take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you sooner rather than later. Over and out.